Hey guys, welcome to Tarot Talks. This is episode 9, and we're reading the Major Arcana. Let's get into it. So we have Thurisaz. That's the rune that's guiding this reading for me energetically. And Thurisaz has a couple things that they use it for, like protection and male brute force, war. It represents Thor's hammer, lightning, and that sort of like electric essence of the male aspect. Okay, because when we think about the male aspect, it's always going to be force and action out in the material world. It's the thing that alights matter and gives it the force that makes it move and animates it and makes it go. It makes changes in matter. Okay, so if we have that and it's completely male brute force. Okay, so it also, if you look at it, it looks like it could be a body and then the phallic triangle as of the male as well. Okay, so like an erect penis. And we have that opposing Virgo, which is the most pure form of the sacred feminine. So the hermit is ruled by Virgo. And the hermit is the ultimate servant. It's about servitude. That's so much more what the hermit's about. Like a lot of people think immediately like loneliness when it comes to being a hermit, which is a big part of being the hermit. But what Virgo represents and the hermit together is the servant. So the point of the hermit being isolated is it's only supposed to be for a certain amount of time before he reaches enlightenment. Once he reaches enlightenment, he comes back out of his cave, which is what he's doing in this card, and he's shedding light on humanity. So he's sharing what he has learned through meditation and all that. He's sharing the knowledge of consciousness with his community, with his people, with his clan. Okay, so we have this like electric force opposing this very soft and caring, loving type of energy, and they're opposing each other. So it looks like there is a change coming. We have the Six of Swords, which always means travel and movement. And if it's not actual physical travel, it's movement into a new paradigm, a new way of thinking. Also, it could be like a different position at work. It's always movement. It's from one place that wasn't so good into another. So for me, it feels like this person, if I'm reading a person, I feel like if it's a spiritual reading, because sometimes people just come to you and they're just like, I'm not myself. I don't have any exact questions, but what is the message that needs to be communicated to me? I would say, you need to be more in touch with the conscious self than the physical self, and work on meditating and changing the way that you operate so as to not jump into things. You want to contemplate and think about and chew on things before you actually act out in the world. So it's channeling that brute force and becoming more pure and more conscious. And the Wheel of Fortune is always about a shift. It's a shift in the year, which is funny that we're getting this the day after New Year's. This is the day after New Year's. So this is your New Year's card. It is the completed cycle. And that's why they show you the circle. It's like the birth chart, the zodiac. It made a complete turn. So we're ready to move into the next step. So this is very cohesive. This is Mercury in Aquarius. And Mercury in Aquarius is like, to me, it's like when you spray a can of hairspray and you put a lighter, that's the image I'm getting. Like you get a torch, like a woof, like a big kind of poof to your next step, into your next paradigm of thinking, like your next step of learning and your next environment, and that's going to have an effect on you in different ways, like things that are going to make you learn and change. Like you're going to experience that, because Mercury in Aquarius is the new paradigm. Aquarius is all about forward thinking in the future and bringing in the dying of old concepts and the bringing in of new concepts, like the change in from the Piscean age to the age of Aquarius. And if you don't know the zodiac, that in terms of ages, it actually moves backwards. So we're moving forward, it's moving backwards. So we're a complete reflection of what's going on above us. So everything's upside down and reversed as far as like the macrocosm and the microcosm. All right, so let's change out the cards here. We have Lord of Swiftness, Mercury and Sagittarius. Got good Mercury cards today. Mercury is always about like enlightenment and communication, and Mercury can also be an indicator of just like complete genius ideas out of nowhere. So Mercury and Sagittarius, that's another movement card. It's another fast moving, a fast paced. Now we have, I feel like we have that that Wands energy, that fiery male energy, and it's working along with the Thorisas rune, and I feel like it's like coming at the Hermit, like his higher self is being attacked by the pleasures of the flesh. So it could be someone who's trying to do the right thing and trying to be spiritual and trying to stay on track, but they're getting sidetracked by maybe they just smoke too much weed and they're just lazy and they're not on their game, you know what I mean? And that fire has gone out. So it's like your spiritual characters being attacked here. And then what did I say this one was? This is Lord of Abandoned Success, Saturn in Pisces. This feels like a very religious card to me, because Pisces is a sign that denotes religion and religious zealots and people who are deeply, deeply religious. More so, not really spiritual, but like deeply religious. So that's what Pisces actually represents. And if you think about it, as far as like the turning of the ages, it really does feel like religions are sort of on their way out, because we are now into the Aquarian age, which is the age of new concepts and new ideas. So it kind of feels like there needs to be a shift in spirituality here, like an enlightenment and an awakening. Saturn is the absolute opposite of Virgo. It is the sacred feminine. It's the darker aspect of the sacred feminine, whereas Virgo is the purity and the servitude, and Saturn is the destruction and the no mercy factor, which a lot of people don't actually think about when it comes to the sacred feminine. They think of that as more as like a male aspect, but it is it is the darker aspect of the sacred feminine, because each the male aspect and the feminine aspect, they each have underneath a microcosm that breaks apart. They have two sides of themselves, just like people have two sides of themselves. We're both feminine and masculine, and during our spiritual path, whatever it is, the goal is to become gray, like the Hermit, not black, not white. So black is the sacred feminine color, white is the masculine color. So it gets very confusing when you think about like everything on a macro to microcosmic level, and it's like those little Russian dolls, you keep just breaking it down and breaking it down and breaking it down. But that's also the essence of alchemy. So it shows you like the makeup of your universe and what everything's made up of. So this is definitely a spiritual reading. So this person needs to do some work. They need to read some good books consume good media, get rid of unhealthy food, get rid of unhealthy habits, and make their way into a more ritualized spirituality, where I feel like people who are more disciplined in their spirituality, they obviously are able to achieve more enlightenment and more knowledge, because they are disciplined and they are ritualistic and they dedicate themselves every day. So there's definitely reward in that. It's about being dedicated and learning. And so you can come back and teach, because that's what the hermit is. So he dedicates his time. He falls back so he can just basically re-up on his knowledge and get to know himself again. He retreats into the cave, per se. So that's it for my reading of the Hermit 9. We're actually going to move on to 10 in the next reading, and that is actually going to be the Wheel of Fortune card. So I will set this up, and I'll see you in a few minutes for your next episode of Tarot Talks. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I'll see you soon.